So let's move on to Bobby Lashley. He's currently in TNA wrestling. He is also currently a mixed martial arts fighter. He has been toying with the idea of leaving professional wrestling only under the situation that he actually signs with Strikeforce, which Strikeforce is a rival MMA promotion to UFC. They have been in talks ever since the big CBS show that Strikeforce has put on with Fedor versus Brett Rogers. He has been in talks with them to sign with them and become an exclusive fighter for Fiji Water. Become an exclusive fighter for Strikeforce. If that happens, I think that he would leave TNA Wrestling. I think that he would have to leave TNA Wrestling, and I think that he would be welcomed back with open arms in the future, maybe 5-10 years down the line if he retires from MMA, because his contract, his handshake that he made with Dixie Carter was, hey, I want to do this as long as it works out for the both of us and as long as my MMA career comes first. And she said absolutely to that. You know, you can work a very limited amount of dates. The guy's not working house shows. He's just working the TV tapings. This, I think, is going to be a good thing for him if he signs with Strikeforce, because I think the guy is a hell of a fighter, and I think we could easily see him on the top 10 heavyweights list in the world. Not anytime soon. I'm talking maybe within a year or two once the guy gets 4, maybe 5 more fights under his belt, and those are winning fights, and he fights, you know, top-tier guys. I think that he could be somewhere on that top 10 list. Somewhere at the bottom, but somewhere on that list. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if I was at a TNA show and I bumped into Bobby Lashley and I was able to give him some advice, I'd say get out now. Get back in the gym, train your heart off, or your heart out rather, because we've seen what he can do. We've seen what Brock Lesnar can do. We've seen that the trend right now is that the successful heavyweights in MMA are bigger, stronger wrestlers who fight intense, just like Bobby's style. Smash mouth takedown style. If Strikeforce were to pick him up, who wouldn't love to see him take on Fedor Emelianenko?
I know, I would love to see that.
It'd be such a great fight, and maybe someday down the road, him versus Brock Lesnar would be one of the biggest fights probably of the year when that happened. So yeah, I'd say, Bobby, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of TNA, get out of professional wrestling. You've got a chance to make a real legacy for yourself. And if that doesn't work, if you get beat, if I'm wrong, then you go back.
Yeah.
Then you go back.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back after a short little break we had to take. We'd just like to say thank you to Fiji Water for giving us the refreshments for this evening. But we are back to continue down our line and talk about some topics here. Let's kind of run down the Survivor Series card, which is coming up this Sunday on pay-per-view, and kind of talk about the matches that are going to happen and how we feel the card stacks up and how we feel the matches stack up individually. I'll just jump right in to some of the less important matches, and we can get on to the main events later. They're doing a women's classic Survivor Series match, which I always thought classic Survivor Series matches had 4 superstars in them, but apparently they all have 5 in them now.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure on that.
So we've got a women's Survivor Series match. We've got Mickie James, Eve Torres, Kelly Kelly, Melina, and Gail Kim, faces, versus Michelle McCool, Layla, Alicia Fox, Jillian, Beth Phoenix, and no Maurice, because she still hasn't made a return yet. But I think that this match doesn't really matter to me what happens either way. I think that other than Beth Phoenix and maybe Michelle McCool, you've got Layla, who's not really a wrestler, Alicia Fox, who's not really a wrestler, and Jillian, who, despite her best attempts, is not really who I would consider a top-tier women's wrestler on their program. And then in the women's team, you've got Mickie James, who is definitely a great athlete, Gail Kim, who is a women's champion as well as TNA Knockouts champion, Melina, who is former women's champion, Kelly Kelly, who can definitely hold her own in a ring, even though she may not be the best, and Eve Torres, who, again, not fantastic. I think if you're stacking them up, you know, this one's good, this one's not so good, I think it looks like the Mickie James team of faces is probably going to win, plus it will give a good vibrant start to the program to have faces win right off the bat. What do you
Okay,
think?
I kind of disagree. I think that you're discounting Alicia Fox. They're actually giving her a huge push right now in
True.
the women's division.
That's true.
So I think that it might come down to her. I don't know if they're gonna want to put the belt on her right away. So if they don't want to put the belt on her, but they still want to keep pushing her, this is a great platform for her. It could come down to she being the last one on her team against 2 or 3 of Mickie James' team, and she could just
Pull out the pinfall victory.
pull out the pinfall victory on all of them, and that's the way I see that playing out.
Fair enough. Let's move right on to the to another match. We have Team Miz versus Team Morrison. We have Miz and his merry band of heels: Dolph Ziggler, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Jack Swagger, versus John Morrison and his faces: Matt Hardy, Evan Bourne, Finlay, and Shelton Benjamin. For me, this is a huge toss-up because you've got some huge names on there. For me, just looking at them quick: Miz, Morrison, Ziggler, Benjamin, Jack Swagger, Sheamus, all guys who are, in my opinion, future, not world champion, but future main eventers in the company. I think that the heel team has a little bit of an edge when you're looking at guys they've been given pushes to, maybe on like a ECW US Intercontinental title front. You've got guys like Jack Swagger who they've been pushing a little bit. He's fallen off a little bit, but Sheamus, who's in the middle of a huge push right now. Dolph Ziggler, who's done everything but win the Intercontinental Championship against John Morrison. And then on Morrison's team, to be fair, you've got Morrison, current Intercontinental Champion. You've got Finlay, who has a great tenure in professional wrestling and with the WWE. Shelton Benjamin, who is on fire right now, and I wish he was on the heel team. Matt Hardy, who hasn't done much, and Evan Bourne, who has been pretty much a glorified jobber recently. Although he did just capture a pinfall victory over Jack Swagger, ending Jack Swagger's streak. So what do you think about this match?
Honestly, I just want to say I'm so over Matt Hardy. I can't believe he's face again after what he did to Jeff. He's such a contemptible person from that storyline. But I see nothing exciting coming from this match, one way or the other. I can't pick a winner.
No, I don't think Drew McIntyre is going to get a pinfall victory over John Morrison.
Over Finlay, maybe, or could happen. Sure, get Finlay out.
Might be some good spots, maybe some good wrestling in that match. I mean, you definitely have
you got
good wrestlers in
Benjamin,
that match.
Swagger, Morrison. Some really good wrestling could go down, but
I mean, let's call a spade a spade. They just had bragging rights, and they just had a huge 5-on-5 match that was supposed to be the end-all, be-all Raw vs. SmackDown.
Right.
Even though the SmackDown team barely showed up and actually got replaced at the last minute. But I think as a whole, these Survivor Series matches, having 3 of them on the card, one we haven't talked about yet, T. Morton versus Kofi Kingston, we'll talk about in a second. I think this is a mistake to have this many Survivor Series matches on this card. Maybe 1 or 2 for old time's sake, like they've been doing with some of their classic pay-per-view ideas and classic, original ideas where they'll kind of touch upon them and pay tribute to them. I think that 3 is too many. And that's that. Let's move right on to the reason why, and that's the Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton match, which we see Team Orton, which is Orton, DiBiase, Rhodes, William Regal, and CM Punk, which is a completely mismatched team, versus Kofi Kingston, Christian, MVP, Mark Henry, and R-Truth, which, well, at least Christian is mismatched on that team. This is a match. These are individuals that should be involved in singles matches or tag team action with each other. You've got MVP and Mark Henry, who are kind of on this quest to become the unified champions. Tag team champions. I don't think it's going to happen, but they shouldn't be locked in this 5-on-5 match. You've got R-Truth, who hasn't really done much to impress me in the last couple months.
Nothing.
You've got CM Punk, who was a world champion a month and a half ago, and now is just kind of thrown in as a footnote on this team. You've got William Regal, who's locked up in ECW, trying to battle Christian for the ECW champion, but he doesn't even have his cohorts with him. Big Zeke, Ezekiel Jackson, and Vladimir Kozlov, they aren't even on the team. Maybe they'll come into play. You've got Legacy, who's all but a separate entity from Randy Orton at this point. And then on the other team, Kofi Kingston, Christian, these are 2 great guys, but they really don't have much to do with each other. I think that this match is just a huge wash for me. I couldn't care less what happens. I can't wait for maybe the upcoming pay-per-views, maybe Royal Rumble, or potentially WrestleMania, on the horizon a few months away, where we get to see these guys step in the ring with each other one-on-one or in some sort of triple threat tag team. I don't care. 5-on-5, too many. What do you think?